everybody knowledge well. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Here are 50 amazing facts to blow your mind. When the Confederate Army was low on gunpowder, bat caves were raided for poop. Bat guano's high nitrate content provided a key ingredient for the production of gunpowder. Guano. Yummy. In 1991, drug lord Pablo Escobar got to build his own prison known as La Cathedral. It featured a soccer field, a giant dollhouse, a bar, a jacuzzi, and a waterfall. It's where he stayed for only 1 year and 1 month after he was caught torturing his guests. From there, he was back on the run. Wild chimpanzees look both ways before crossing the road. The National Museum of Natural History in Paris began studying their vigilance and found that 57% of the time, they would run across the road to be extra safe. Astronomers have discovered the largest known diamond in the universe is a star named Lucy that is 10 trillion billion carats. This white dwarf has a carbon interior that crystallized as it cooled, which formed a giant diamond in the sky. Scientists couldn't resist naming it after the Beatles song Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. In 2013, a dog named Killian saved a baby boy from an abusive babysitter when he alerted his owners by growling and standing between the baby and the sitter whenever she was present. The parents later recorded the abuse and the sitter was convicted. The cost of a tourist visa for China is $140 for Americans and $30 for the rest of the world. Panama is the only place in the world where one can see the sun rise on the Pacific Ocean and set on the Atlantic. In 2002, Thad Roberts, a former intern at NASA, was sentenced to 6 years in federal prison after stealing moon rocks gathered from the Apollo 11 moon landing mission so that he could have sex with his girlfriend on them. Dude, it's not like you're doing it on the moon, and you could get those rocks lost in weird places, so I don't get the logic. During the American Civil War, some soldiers' wounds actually glowed blue. These soldiers had a better survival rate, so the glow was called angel's glow. The luminescence was actually due to bacteria that produce antibiotics that live inside nematodes who have made homes in the soldiers' open wounds. NASA often shows the Hollywood movie Armageddon as part of its management training program, and then asks its new staff to identify as many scientific inaccuracies as they can. There are at least 168 of them. Stephen J. Russell was a con man that escaped 4 times from prison. The first time, he simply walked out. Upon recapture, Russell lowered and paid his bail by pretending to be a judge, escaped his next capture by impersonating a doctor, and did so again by then faking his death. Eventually, he received a 144-year sentence that he is still currently serving. 1.5 million people were evicted from their homes in Beijing in preparation for the 2008 Olympics. That's nice. At El Diablo restaurant in the Canary Islands, food is served with the geothermal heat from an actual volcano. A photo of 9-year-old Daniel Cabrera from the Philippines doing his homework in the street, assisted by the light of a local McDonald's, resulted in the world donating money, school supplies, and a college scholarship to both him and his family. When Benjamin Franklin died in 1790, he willed the cities of Boston and Philadelphia $4,400 each, but with the stipulation that the money could not be spent for 200 years. By 1990, Boston's trust was worth over $5 million. Astronaut Buzz Aldrin had to fill out a military travel voucher for reimbursement for his mission to the moon and was reimbursed $33.31. A 31-year-old man named Jason Willis from Waterford, Wisconsin, was banned from the internet in 2014 after sending naked men to a neighbor's house through a Craigslist ad. That's actually kind of brilliant. If you don't like your neighbors, don't do it. The US is the only nation that prints all of its currency in the same size and color. Because of this, 3.3 million blind and visually impaired Americans depend on someone else, a family member, a friend, or cashier, or even a bank teller, to identify the denomination of each bill. That's a lot of trust. In ancient Egypt, men could take time off work to care for menstruating daughters and wives. New Zealand will deny people residency visas if they have too high of a BMI, and there have been cases of people rejected simply because of their weight. Stephen Hawking has said outside of our own universe lies another different universe, and in this universe, Zayn is still in One Direction. I'm not making that up. On July 23, 1983, Air Canada's Flight 143 with 69 people on board ran out of fuel at an altitude of 12.5 kilometers. Miraculously, the pilot managed to glide the plane down safely as he was a very experienced glider pilot. Additionally, 2,300 pounds of jet fuel had been put in instead of 2,300 kilograms. Gotta watch those conversions, people. In 2015, a man who skipped out on his bill at a Houston area restaurant was seen running into a vacant building across the street. The police officers who arrived jokingly called out Marco, to which the suspect accidentally replied Polo. He was immediately arrested. George Washington was worth $525 million back in his day, adjusted for inflation. Former US President Bill Clinton claims that the Netflix series House of Cards is 99% real. That's actually terrifying. Japanese engineer Kuneko Saito invented a new tiny personal transportation system, the walk car, similar to an electric skateboard but small enough to fit right in your backpack. The world record for the largest number ever counted belongs to Jeremy Harper. He streamlined the entire process online and raised money for charity. He reached 1 million. It took him 3 months. 90% of US media, TV, radio, and news is owned by only 6 corporations. Those being Disney, CBS, Viacom, News Corp, GE, and Time Warner. Oligopoly. Oh, goodness. People actually used to do their laundry in Old Faithful, located in Yellowstone National Park in Wyoming. They would put their clothes in the geyser and it would erupt and clean them. Although this really only worked for linen and cotton fabrics, woolen clothes were torn apart. Smart people underestimate themselves. Ignorant people think they're brilliant. It's a cognitive bias called the Dunning-Kruger effect. It's where the highly skilled assume that things that they find easy are also easy for others, and that the unskilled are so incompetent that they can't recognize their own stupidity. In 2000, cigarette giant Philip Morris introduced fire-safe cigarettes, which actually posed a greater risk of starting fires when left unattended. You mean we can't trust cigarette companies? What's this world coming to? In 1969, NASA possessed the technology to land on the moon, but not the technology to fake the moon landings. There simply didn't exist the equipment to fake the broadcast. Prairie dogs have a complex means of communication. It's so advanced that not only do they have different calls depending on the type of predator, but they also make sentences that describe the predator. The concept of rap battle has existed since the 5th century, where poets would engage in flighting. It was a spoken word event where poets would actually insult one another in verse. It's like epic rap battles of history. There are red bananas that taste sweet, creamy, and a little bit like raspberries. Singapore is the only country in the history of the modern world to gain independence against its own will. A man named Chen Si spends every weekend of his life at the Nanjing Yangtze River Bridge, which is the world's #1 suicide bridge. He does it to save people from jumping, and in fact, he has saved 144 people from killing themselves at the time of this recording. ISIS has so much money that it's wealthier than several actual countries. The group makes about $1 million to $5 million a day. It took Ronda Rousey a total of only 25 minutes and 36 seconds to win all of her 12 fights. Bowhead whales are amongst the longest living mammals. In 2007, a specimen caught off the Alaskan coast was found to have a 35-inch long head of an explosive harpoon embedded deep in its neck. The projectile was manufactured in Massachusetts around 1890, suggesting that the whale survived a hunt over a century ago. They're just as tough as knowledge whales. Ooh. Humpback whales often let dolphins hitch a ride on their head for the sheer fun of it. The difference between terror and horror is that terror occurs in anticipation of the horrifying experience, while horror occurs after. Boom! That didn't work at all. Your eyebrows renew themselves every 64 days. Before Saladin, the first Sultan of Egypt, died in 1193, he had given away all of his wealth to his poor subjects. His final estate consisted of a single piece of gold and 40 pieces of silver, not even enough to pay for the funeral. The current CEO of YouTube, Susan Wojcicki, is the woman who rented her garage to Larry Page and Sergey Brin in 1998 when they were creating Google. Kev Jumba, a YouTuber, created a second YouTube channel and donated 100% of its ad revenue to a community in Kenya, which used that money to construct the first secondary school in their community and named the school after him. Breastfeeding allows a baby to give germs to the mother so her immune system can respond and synthesize antibodies for her baby. The Shiawassee Police Department in Michigan staged a fake wedding on September 21st, 1990. The bride and groom were undercover cops who invited local drug dealers to their big day. At the reception, they busted them all at once. Why would they even show up to that? I mean, you can buy your own cake, can't you? You got drug money. There exists a company called dicksbymail.com who will, for $15, mail a 141-gram bag of gummy bear dicks with a letter that reads, "Eat a bag of dicks," to anyone in your life that you think deserves it. Please don't send this to my P.O. box. Please? Please don't. Jason Padgett was a jock who never made it past pre-algebra. But after being attacked outside of a bar, he started seeing the world in pixelated geometric shapes. He soon understood the concept of pi and had a sudden ability to hand draw complex fractals and is now a renowned math genius. But don't go getting in fights outside of bars thinking that you're gonna end up a math genius. Knowledge Whale does not condone that. I want to give a big thanks to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. They help you create your own professionally designed website easily regardless of whether you're an amateur or a pro. There's no coding required. They have intuitive and easy to use tools, and you get a free domain if you sign up for a year. Plus, if you start your free trial right now at squarespace.com/Santoro and use the offer code Santoro, you get 10% off your first purchase. So go to squarespace.com/Santoro right now and start your free trial, and be sure to use the code Santoro for 10% off. For real, if you guys have ever wanted to create your own website, these are the guys to do it with. And that's it for this time, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, be sure to subscribe to my channel so that you can catch my next video, and I will see you next time. Knowledge Whale out. Slap, slap.